All right, let me get this up. Smile for the camera.
Yep.
I hope it doesn't have that technology though, because
Order or waiting?
Um,
Buddy on
wait.
else?
yeah. What does the weather have in store for us?
Think it's gonna be too bad.
Compared to the
overnight,
previous-
then run.
It's not a warming trend for the next month.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's good.
I
That's
think
really good.
tomorrow's gonna be the last of the cold of it for a while.
Take it.
That means icy roads at night.
Yes, especially in certain spots.
Now the ice in my walk.
Yeah, look, it's gonna be balmy in the 30s.
Right, 32 degrees,
Yeah.
right? I
Sunny
even didn't go outside with a jacket on today.
sunny and
I
sunny.
never wear a jacket.
I don't like being bundled up either.
No. Restricted.
It was very cold this morning, though. Almost fell off taking the dog out. At 5
Yesterday
a.m.
after the Super Bowl.
Clearly.
-10. So it's probably like 6 degrees.
I have a cousin that lives, or several cousins that live in Alaska, so they will routinely remind us, you only have 10 degrees below zero, we've got 42.
Relative.
That's
Right.
just temperature.
So agenda and the drafts here. Agenda.
Sharon's there. Very well, look at that.
You run short.
All right, Mr. Director.
All right, it's 5 o'clock, call to order, emergency management meeting. Sir Wonka, Emergency Management Director.
Town Administrator Haley Bolton. Assuming you-
Select board.
Yeah.
Eric Stalker. You've done both too.
Select board and Melissa McKee's on there.
Don damn caper. Oh, king.
Noreen Pease, Board of Health.
Garrett Simonson, Board of Health.
The Corning Highway.
Yep, all right, wanted to go over, review, I sent out the minutes. I changed a couple things beforehand from comments, but, has everybody looked at them? To, approve them?
I'll second that.
Sir Wonka, aye.
Stalker, right? Both too, right?
Thank you for that.
Kinder right.
Simonson, I.
Noreen Pease, I'll abstain. I wasn't there.
Dave?
Yeah, I wasn't there either.
Okay. All right, so that approved. Do we have any public comment?
Raise.
Anybody raise their hand for public comment? Okay. Like, anyway, review any old business. Not on the list. Anything? Okay,
No. Not for me anyway.
all right. Lake Viola Dam updates, I can go my short spiel of I've been going out twice a day and looking at the level, making sure nothing's leaking other than where it's supposed to be going and, reporting that to Howie. So
And how are they going?
it's It's a dam. It's the water's there and the holes that the dam was leaking through are in the air, so it's not gonna be leaking anymore until the water goes above those holes, so. It's as far as I go with the dam.
Okay, I can pick it up by saying, GZ has been handling all the permitting and that has been going really well. We need to identify a contractor to perform the work. It can begin. We cannot use CPA funds to cover the emergency, repairs because it has to, the application, the work needs to take place in the same year. So because we would be applying for the next cycle and we're in this fiscal year, we can't. So that will require us more than likely at annual town meeting needing to appropriate some funds to pay for that. And then there is a little, I don't know if I want to call it a snag, but there is a layer that we may have to figure out because MEPA is saying that they would like us to perform, and now I forget the exact term, but like a wetlands analysis of even like the emergency repairs that have to happen. And our contractor's position, GZA, has been, well, we have a dam safety order that because we have the dam safety order, that MEPA does not need to then ask us to complete this step. So we are hoping to, or I am hoping to speak with some of our state leaders, because we have to conduct this assessment anyway, but we can do it during like the second tier phase repair. So what we're asking for, or we'll be advocating for, is to not do that initial exam, to just get the emergency repair work done, but then go back and do the full assessment of like wetlands impact once we are then doing the full scheme of the repairs. Because right now we're in unsafe. We want to get out of unsafe, and then we can have a whole other building project on our hands. So that's kind of where we're coming at with this, but ultimately I think we'll have to defer to what they want, but just know that if that does happen, it will add time and it will add a lot of extra costs to the project. So we were hoping to kind of shelve those costs to a later date, but I'm not sure that'll happen.
Can you just remind, what's MEPA standing? for?
MEPA, one of many acronyms.
You know, many acronyms.
I know acronyms are tough. They're a lot to keep up with. It's environmental protection, I think, but yeah, Massachusetts Environmental Policy Act Office. A little extra in there.
Right.
But so that's where we're at, basically, is trying to advocate and just say to them, you know, we want to do this. It's not that we don't, it's just that we want to do it when it's not going to cost us the most amount of money. Should be factoring it in later. That was my update.
Yep.
Okay, and then so I did ask Lenny to have the topic of lake roads come up because there are some individual issues, but I want to focus today on like policy wide and what could we do. I don't know if everyone has seen the policy that we have. I think it's circa like 2000 something. So even in and of itself, it's a little outdated for 2026. And so I printed out some information. It's on like the fact sheet page, and it looks at kind of like a general sense of liability for towns and for like the association. And then it looks at some other communities to kind of give us a model of, well, what do they, right? Do they just say that a road is deemed unsafe, or do they say that, you know, you need a 14-foot vertical clearance? So those are some ways that I think we could strengthen the policy and just be more clear about what it is we need to be able to perform the work. And that's where I wanted to start. And I also wanted to get, you know, there are several people here in the audience who I'm glad are here to kind of share their perspective too on what the issue is and how we can better position ourselves for next year. Do we want to start from there?
Yeah, I so. It's right now.
Well, I don't know if Ron, Mary Jo, or Tracy, if you wanted to kind of kick us off, as you know, people are maybe reading either the policy or some of the notes that I prepared. You had things you wanted.
Well, I met with Haley this afternoon to kind of give some background on the Lake Wyoming Association and the buildup of properties around the lake. And so I'll just give them just a brief. I have all this, I have all this document that I've given Haley some things, just a little, no, such of the documents that there are. The Lake Wyola Association was given the roads and the beaches and the clubhouse by the previous owners in 1950, owned all the property. And they formed the Lake Wyola Association, which was a social club, and they were incorporated as a social club. Oddly, they sometimes filed as a fraternal order as well, up until 2005. 2005, Bill Elliott suggested that they become a 501c3 public charity so that they can apply for grants and have larger fundraisers, capital campaigns. So there was some controversy all around that because apparently it was done without membership approval. And so some people filed in the state and got 501c3 status. This was all pre-me. I didn't live here at this point. My understanding is that there were a lot of people that were very upset that have happened, namely because you become a 501c3 public charity as opposed to a foundation. There's two things in that category. If you are found to not be adhering to your articles of incorporation, and they disband you, you have to give your properties to a like charity or a municipality. They can't be sold. So you know, there was, I guess, probably a sense of loss and control of the properties. As a 501c3 public charity, it also meant that their properties were all open to the public. They're supposed to be. That also, with the roads policy, the Mass state law, towns plow your roads, the roads have to be open to the public. You'll notice signs up at the end of the lake roads that say that they're not open to the public. So, as far as the way the Lake Wyola Association runs, it's supposed to be a membership-based 501c3. That's what they're incorporated as, which means that anybody who becomes a member, and nobody's required to, because it's not a homeowners association. Those of us who live over there on the roads do not own the roads. We don't own any part of the roads, nor do we have any say in what happens to the roads. Membership-based 501c3 is supposed to be that the members vote on everything. It's not a good way to run a 501c3, but that's how they incorporated. And then they decided that that didn't work very well for them, so they changed. But the reason that that's not a good idea is because the board of directors and members can change the direction of the organization without membership and approval on a larger scale. And that's what's happened. So basically anything under $10,000, the board of directors gets to decide on. We have no say in it. We don't get to see any minutes. We don't get to go to any of their meetings. They treat us as if it's kind of like, I'm sure some of you contribute to 501c3 public charities and maybe not even aware that that's what they are. I'm going to take Audubon Society, for example. I'm a member of the Audubon Society. It is a board-driven 501c3. I don't get any say in what they do. All I can do is pay my dues because I like what they do, and I get to go to their park for free. Maybe I get a little penny. We don't get anything but a pile of gravel down at the end of the road to fill in the potholes. And the summer folks are gone. They vacate, right after the summer's over, and all the residents that are year round, most of us are paying mortgages. People who live on water are generally inherited their properties and they don't have a mortgage. So we are the ones that are kind of holding the fort over there for the fall, winter, and spring. And, it's all dirt roads. So you all know what that's like. The town DPW has been asking them for years to use hard pack. We have fought and fought and fought. It wasn't until FERCog got involved, and and did an assessment of the roads. And the Stormwater Committee, Eric was on and I was on, did an assessment that for the first time in the 15 years that I've been here, we finally got a pile of hardtack delivered to the end of our road. But when you maintain roads, you need to pack it down. You need to have the proper equipment. Lake Oil Association doesn't have even a shovel. Literally. Everything is just, you know, left to crossing your fingers. A lot of cronyism. I think it will get done for somebody who knows somebody, and other projects get left behind. For example, my neighbor had their curtain drain dumping out into the road the whole time I've been there. And the water just freezes across the entire road, sometimes about a 30-foot length. Ice this deep with water running underneath it. My tires fall in or have to get towed out. Can't walk on it. I finally got it done this year. And again, it was really because it got brought to the surface with the Stormwater Committee and FERCog. But that's not the way it should be. So, you know, I guess what it comes down to, the reason I'm here to support Ron is that it's not Ron's responsibility to take care of the road in front of his house. It's Lake Loyola Association's responsibility, because it doesn't belong to Ron. It doesn't belong to any of us. And I don't think anybody would contribute to an organization that didn't do what they say their mission is. I'm a member, I pay because I figure if I'm gonna complain and if I'm gonna ask for things, then I'm gonna pay. But as has been discussed with Eric in the past, it doesn't really matter how much money we might give. It's 5 miles of dirt roads in a watershed. There's no way that the Lake Oil Association, even if they were doing things above board, could be managing these roads. It's impossible. It's a quarter of the roads in town.
You guys want to go next? I also met with Mary Jo today. It's nice to see you again. I think that's all really helpful. Because, you know, again, I think where we should be thinking about today is, you know, where's the map of the lake roads and how can we kind of better understand that? I did do some research after my conversation with Tracy, and it does seem like one of the things that the association could do is to have their own road association, right? Because if you're a public charity, you shouldn't be spending public funds on a private purpose, which would be maintaining the road. So, and I did look at other communities and they do that as well as kind of a way to say, we know that we need to take care of this, and it kind of gets more participation from people who live in the area. And there's certain, you know, legal protections that it offers under Mass General Law, Chapter 84. So those are just some of the little bits that I got today. And then certainly again, like, you know, do we want to say to, you know, to folks or to the association, whomever we're working with on the roads, you know, well, we're going to do it so long as we can pass the plow through? Or do we want to say, you know, if it's a dead end road, we need a turnaround for a vehicle. We need to know that it can fit, you know, I don't know, Dave, how big's a plow? 12 feet, maybe more, you know, but some kind of like something that people could say, oh, okay, like I can measure that. I can make sure that if it's not performing at standard, there's a way to redress that.
So because nothing has been managed properly over there. Drainage was not required in homes on the lake. Residents encroached on the roads all over the place. There's nowhere to put turnarounds. Every road's a dead end. There's, you know, roads that are supposed to be a certain width are not, because people decided, and what happened a lot is people, especially on the water side, they burned up their driveways. They put in asphalt driveways, even though they weren't given permission by the Conservation Commission, and they put berms up out onto the road so that the water just flows down the road to their neighbor's house. It's just been like the wild, wild west over there for a long time. And so some of these things that you might be talking about, there sounds like great ideas until you go over there. And right now is not a good time to go look, just because.
Well, yeah, true.
But it's, you know, but you know, Eric's seen it. We've assessed all the roads. We've actually recently assessed what needs to be done, and there's a grant was gotten for an engineering study. The town and the Lake Oil Association came together on that, and they have got the grant. And that's just, and I mean, all of us are kind of like, knocking on wood here that this won't just be another engineering study that goes into a file, which has happened for the last 25 years. But you know, the water flow from up above needs to be stopped in order for the roads to be able to not be in constant disrepair, because that's the problem. It's water, it's runoff. It's a watershed, everything's trying to go to the lake.
So I'm here and involved because I'm a neighbor that lives on Grapevines Drive Extension. I'm so fortunate that I don't have to deal personally with water just because of how my house is. But I'm aware of neighbors that struggle all the time. And I'm also a member of the Council on Aging. And so I'm thinking about this from a perspective of what the aging population around the lake needs. There was a time when I think around the lake was a lot of young families and kids, but now a lot of us are older. And the policy that we have now does address emergency vehicle access. But when you think about the kinds of needs that you begin to have when you're aging in place, it's not just, you know, your emergencies are more frequent. You know, you might need a nurse to come on a regular basis. You might need somebody to come to help you with, you know, your activities of daily living or whatever. And you may not be in a position where you can really well articulate and represent your needs with the town or with the highway department or anybody if things go awry during the winter. And so
Mud season.
or during mud season, which is, it's an occurrence. You know, you may not be in a position where you can get out and sand yourself. And one of the things that I was kind of interested to learn in coming to this meeting is what it is like to plow these roads and to sand these roads, which are essentially like a network of driveways. Within, each one with its individual quirks. And I will just tell you real quick about the road that I live on, which is generally I don't have any complaints personally. But, in the wintertime, trucks trucks have to back down my road. Or they have to, drive straight down and then back out. Because there's there's not enough room to turn around. And my guess is that the reason my road doesn't get sanded to the end has to do with the fact that the sanding truck for the town is rather large. And so might have some difficulty getting all the way down and back. I don't know. Right now, it's not an issue because and a lot of things like this haven't been an issue as much when everybody around the lake was like a seasonal cottage. But more and more people are living there full time. And I know the person at the end of my road eventually is going to make this his retirement home. And so at some point, it would be great if there was a way that the road could get sanded down in front of his house, which it's not. Last time it was maintained, they put in some hard pack. It ended before the end of the road. And I know that because I had my property surveyed and I know where the road ends. But I don't think that maybe anybody else does. Because when I moved in, my understanding of where my property was based on the information that I was provided by my neighbor who was from the LWA was about 18 feet short of where it actually ended up being once I had it surveyed. So it's a tricky business down there. And it's like, it seems to me as though somehow going forward, there needs to be like a shared understanding of where the roads are, where the roads end, and how we can provide plowing and sanding for all of the roads, one way or another, right? Because as you all know, in wintertime, if you don't sand, plowing becomes I'm guessing, more of an issue. And for us this year, as soon as melting starts, we're gonna have like weeks of ice.
Hmm.
And so sanding is really, really important, particularly if you've got a situation where the road in front of your house is on a hill. And that's the case at the end of my road. It's the case at the end of Ron's road. It's the case on a number of roads. So narrow and steep and really needing sand. But like it's a road and that's a heck of a lot of sand. It's like more sand than Sand for Seniors is gonna cover. Right, so this is, I think, a problem that needs to get, it would be nice if we got ahead of it before, next winter.
Pretty reasonable.
How much money do they spend per year on road maintenance?
Well, a couple of years back, their limit was $8,000.
Okay, so they do that pretty much every year?
No.
Oh.
They don't necessarily do it every year. Sometimes all they do is just bring in gravel.
Yeah,
But basically what happens over there is things ultimately get repaired when they've gotten into the state of total disrepair. There is no proactive maintenance. There's just reactive maintenance. A culvert breaks down or collapses because there's not enough road material and then you're driving on the pipe.
I remember that. Yeah.
It happens frequently. Or it's happened frequently on every side, every part of the lake that's happened. And then, then it's an emergency. So no, the maintenance is not, there's not a plan, there's not a committee.
Where did the 8,000 figure come from? Okay, because well, I don't want to get too into the weeds in that particular thing, but it does seem like based on a previous IRS filing, they spend much more than 8,000.
Sometimes they do.
Sometimes they do.
Sometimes
Okay.
they do because there's something that's happened. And like I was involved in a project on Pine Drive when I was on the because when I got on the board back in 2018, there was no roads committee. And so myself and another woman formed the roads committee and we didn't know anything about the roads. But we figured it out.
Mhm.
And because there was a problem over on Pine Drive where, a neighborhood decided that the reason that he was getting so much water is because of the culverts. And so he filled them up with cement. And they were filled with cement for like years. And there was, the Pine Drive was washing out, another guy turns, it was just crazy stuff that occurs. And so that ended up costing quite a bit of money. And so that year, you get this extra. I have a chart, because what I did when I was on the roads committee, I requested every invoice that they had.
Mhm.
Very happy about it, but I could do it because I was on the board. And I have a percentage of their overall percentage of each year. This only goes up to, unfortunately, I only had up to 2020. And then the overall money that they had in CDs and in checking accounts as a percentage of, what their assets and income were compared to what they spent on roads. And there was only 1 year that it was a significant expenditure, and that was when Noreen Pease was the president. And they spent a significant amount on roads. But for the most part, it's not what needs to be done. The material that they give us is just gravel, and as soon as it rains, they spread it either by hand or one of the guys on our street with a tractor will go spread it. There's nothing to rule it with. It rains, it washes out. We do it again, over and over again. We go through on Shore Drive 2 17 cubic yard truckloads of gravel in a season. That's a lot. I don't know.
and that's done every year.
Yes,
Hmm.
every year.
They
It's all
spread
in
it,
the lake.
and one of the homeowners spreads it out with his tractor.
Well, some of it, sometimes we have a walkthrough to it by hand, and or he comes around and he dumps it. Yeah, look, Marcus Rose on our street, he's got that old tractor and
Yeah.
his kid, Jake,
Yeah,
Jake does it, Jake's 10.
yeah,
Yeah, on the other side, Joe Salvador does it on the north side. But they don't, again, they don't have the equipment to make it. It's just, it fills in the potholes for temporary because and then it's gone. And then
Which is why the
do it
hard
again.
pack is better, because it.
Exactly.
back there.
At least it'll get past.
The only
We
problem with
haven't
the
spread
hard,
it yet, but
to me, one of the only problems with hard pack is you're not supposed to pave over it. So like if you did your driveway with like the hard pack, it's more so the recycling. You're not supposed to pave directly over it. So if in 30, 20 years or 30 years, when he comes along and says, hey, if the road is paved, we could save X amount of dollars every year, and it's gonna pay for itself in 10 years.
that's
And
not.
people choose to pave it.
No,
Yeah.
it's like that can get.
But,
there's,
I
in
mean,
Lebanon,
I know it's a huge chunk of money paving,
Oh, that won't happen.
but then it would be less maintenance, exponentially for a long time afterwards, so.
It took 15 years to get the hard pack and as they
Yeah.
get spread, yeah.
so.
What percentage of Lake Wyola residents are in a Lake Wyola association? Does anyone know the answer?
So here's the deal with that. Back in 2018, when they were told by a lawyer that they needed to get their bylaws in line with the 501c3 public charity. One of the things is that they're supposed to have their properties open to the public. So they decided they would try to kind of like do that a little bit. And so they opened up membership to Farrar, Upper Wendell, up above Shore, Lakeview and Lax Pond. It's the sections that are surrounding the lake. And they include that in the number that they tell you all are not paying their dues, when none of those people would have any interest in joining, because the only thing that membership gives you is you can go to the beaches. But if you live on those roads, where are you gonna park? And you can maintain the roads. That's another benefit they give you. If you're a member, you're supposed to contribute to maintaining the roads. If you're not a member, you're not. So I would say I haven't, well, the other thing you gotta keep in mind too is that the Laurels aren't even owned by the Lake Wyola Association. So that's another screwy thing that's going on. Some woman named Haggerty, I think she was in New Jersey, she owns the roads over there on the Laurels. So, the Lake Wyola Association, they will do work on those roads, but from a legal standpoint, it's not really legal. So one of the documents that I saw from 2008, before all those properties were added, was that there were 145 properties. And there's probably 135, 140 properties that pay. But paying means nothing. So here's the catch-22. We pay, we make a donation, which is what it is. It's 501c3, it's a donation. It's nothing's due. And then we're just go like this and hope that they are gonna take care of things. And we have to fight to get things taken care of. And then what's people's recourse is to say, I'm not paying. And that's happened before. That's happened in 2008. And then they come back and say, well, it's because people aren't paying that we can't do it. It just goes around and around in a circle. Because it's an unmanageable situation. That's why. Everybody wants to if it's the Lake Wyola Association and this district was allowed to be built up as a year-round district. There's even in the planning board, the planning board, their 20-year plan. It's in the plan as far as it's going to increase revenues for the town by having this be a year-round district because they're lake properties that are valued at more. So, my little crappy cottage is valued more because I have these houses across the street from me. And there was no plan for maintenance. My understanding is that back in the late 80s, the town said that they would take over the maintenance of the roads if the district shut down for 6 months out of the year. And homeowners over there said no, that would decrease their property value. You can kind of understand it. And I also understand there were a couple of people there year round already. So that would be a problem for them. So what they did is they said, okay, we're going to form a Lake Wyola Advisory Committee as an ad hoc committee and give them a charge. I have the documents of the BBC. And the charge, one of the pieces of the charge, which was a big piece, is that they had to come up with a road maintenance plan Whale Association. They never did. There's never been a road maintenance plan. So these homes are being sold as year-round homes. When you buy the home, there's no HOA clause, so you don't. Yeah, I was told by my realtor the town takes care of the roads. Because there's no HOA clause in your deed. And the town doesn't maintain the roads. So, I feel like the town needs to take quite a bit of risk. Not the people sitting around this table. None of us did this, but this is what happened. This is what happened. And we now, as year-round homeowners, and there's more than 50% there now, are stuck with this situation because the people that run the Lake Wyola Association are part-time summer people. They're gone. They're gone. And they like it that way.
That might be a good segue into Noreen, if you have any insights that you could share.
Oh, boy. Noreen Pease, I am on the Board of Health, and I just want to go on record that this has nothing to do with anything associated with the Board of Health, but I am a resident of the Laurels, and I was in fact president of the Lake Wyola Association for approximately 4 years and was involved for an extensive amount of time on the road committees, etc. And I'll have to say the roads were probably one of my biggest fears and nightmares, particularly in terms of people being able to access those roads. I don't care what time of year it was. It's difficult, Lenny, trying to get a fire truck down there. There was a fire on North Laurel years ago, and the house burned down before the town unfortunately was able to get there and hook everything up that was required to get water to the lake. So everything that Tracy says is quite true. Unfortunately, the community doesn't think of everyone in the community and their welfare and what we need to do to keep the lake healthy. It's a long-term, expensive problem that's going to require a lot of thought and people, willing to work together as community members and as neighbors to solve. There was a roads committee when I was president. There were lots of committees then, and it would be a good thing if those committees could be redeveloped. Maybe they could work again with other members of the town to try and see if we can come up with solutions. But I know myself and other members of the association have tried for years to do the very best we can to maintain those roads for everybody's safety. So thank you. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Else from anyone? Well, eventually we'll need to loop in the association. I think obviously we'll have to get them at the table. But like I said, there's a lot to think about here, and there's a lot of complexity based on their status as a 501c3, us as a municipality, and what does it take to get a vehicle down there and out safely, right? Because that's a twofold thing. So I mean, I'm okay with letting things kind of percolate until a future meeting, but I don't know if folks have other questions. I mean, I had the benefit of meeting with several people today to kind of answer my questions and, go through things. And I want to do a little bit more research before I'll have more questions. But it does seem to me like, we've incurred this responsibility by doing these roads for half the year, right? Well, I'll say half the year, it's simpler, but during the winter months. But then there's this component of it that's happening the rest of the year. And if the two aren't on the same track, then we're just going to be sitting here every year for however many years we're all here. I think we can certainly work together. I don't think that's being too optimistic, but there will be concessions that will have to be made, and not everyone will likely be happy, but I think we can definitely have a plan that takes care of the roads and makes people safe and makes it passable. You know, particularly in the event of an emergency.
That's one thing I
Mhm.
haven't heard is, and Dave is here, right? Yeah,
Yes.
where are the issues? Because, yeah, I mean, I know. And the Birches, he's president problem. I've heard that Great Pines is in rough shape right now, and then over there.
David, do you want to field that question? What are some of the conditions on the road that make it difficult?
Size of the roads,
Mhm.
they're way too narrow. And there's ditches on sides of the road that make it difficult for the trucks to get down in there. And if they fall into a ditch, then you gotta pull it out. Now you gotta get another vehicle in there, another piece of equipment. So it's the size of the roads. And the fact that you can't turn around anywhere, everything's gotta be backed in, sanded. Drop offs. I mean, there's a lot that comes into play when it comes to maintaining the roads, especially in the wintertime.
Now, you've said kind of, and I may not be quoting you correctly, but people kind of maybe blurring the lines of their property and some of that spilling in. So is there like, I don't know, I've never bought a house. So like, how did you get an assessment of your property? Just from the realtor?
Yeah.
Okay.
You're getting it from the realtor who's gotten it from the registry of deeds, but one of the things that I've been told, and you guys have probably heard it too, that if you get 3 surveys,
Mhm.
then they'll all come out different.
Mhm.
Yeah, depending, right, yeah, that's very true.
Because pins have been pulled
Mhm.
and
Well, not found.
are not found, you know, things are tight over there. And so, I mean, there's a lot of cooperation that happens. Like, for example, the deed for my property shows that I own the property all the way up to my neighbor's porch. And my other neighbor who wanted to build a garage, his deed showed that he owned the property all the way up to the side of my house. So, but you know, so we just, if somebody says, I really want to put a fence here, but you know,
Yeah.
people are, many of us, especially the year rounders, are very cooperative. We cooperate with each other. One of the problems that we run into a lot of is with the folks that are here. Some of the folks that are here seasonally are great. But then there's this kind of big crew of people who just, they're very, you know, protective of their property. You know, I had a guy last year who was screaming at me, telling me that I had caused 6 inches of ice to go on his driveway.
Mhm.
And I'm in here, and it was icy all year. This kind of stuff goes on with the summer folks where they don't want water. They kind of look at us like we're causing the water. It's just like the water's coming from the hills.
Mhm.
So that's where, you know, that's where I feel like the town stepping in and being the mediators, because it just doesn't work with, you know, we've got this organization that's summer folks who are not really caring that much about the roads. They look at us like we're just bitching all the time. Because they're not here, they don't see it, they don't have to drive on it. And it's just, you know, it's very frustrating.
Mm.
It's very, very frustrating. Every single summer, I contemplate putting my house on the market.
As far as where the roads actually are, where they
Mhm.
were and where they are is not the same thing.
Right.
But this community was developed with the building of the Quabbin. My house came out of the Quabbin. Many of the houses there came out of the Quabbin. So it was designed to be much more populous than it is now. Like the standard lot down there was 50 by 100 feet. Nobody's living in 50 by 100 feet there. My property is 9 building lots. So as far as where the roads were designed to be, they're all 20 feet wide.
Mhm.
They're not 20 feet wide now. But the end of Birch Drive is actually a forest down below
Mm.
the disputed, you know, knoll and such.
Shore is 30 feet wide.
Yeah, and as far as what the roads were intended to be, that's all, Leslie's got all that stuff in the assessor's office. And the same maps, exact same maps are in the registry of deeds as far as what's what. I mean, there was this thing about somehow Birch Drive got determined to be a driveway. I don't know where that came from, except for maybe I'm the last one down there somehow, but that's, not true.
Well, Eric, I know we had mentioned at a select board meeting or some meeting where you and I were there.
Yeah.
About maybe reviving the roads committee, and maybe that's something that does need to happen.
Yeah, it's something. Yeah, I think I agree with what sort of Trace was pointing at. When we're just gonna go around in circles on this issue, and I don't have a solution. To me, part of me sort of say, if you could solve this problem with it, let's say money's no object. What would you do? How would you do it? Would you have like a small truck that's permanently assigned to Lake Wyola? All it does is plow the roads of Lake Wyola.
That would be my answer.
Oh, that's right, but then that's, as I say, this is a guess of like how would you do this if you could just do it? Well, you couldn't just do that without spending 50 grand or 100 grand or whatever. So I am confused, to be honest. I don't really know I don't know how we do it.
Well, I just want to say that I've talked to a number of neighbors. And I've heard many times that his name is Clark, does a lot of work around town. This was not an issue when he was doing the roads. People were satisfied, things were okay, am I right?
I was in the roads, so that's when I reformed the roads committee. We did get a number of people on it, but it disbanded after I left. Clark had given their notice, and I talked to Dennis. I was talking to Tim Hunting too at the time, because we were in a little bit of a panic. They stopped because of the condition of the roads. One of the things that Dennis told me is that he was frustrated with the fact that he could have maintained the roads better, but he wasn't given funding to do it by the Lake Wyola Association. So he quit. So it's not that the town decided not to use Clark, it's that Clark quit. Justifiably so, I feel, and then they were desperately looking for somebody, and they ended up with Dave Boron. And Dave Boron's vehicle, it's rickety. It's rickety. Ron and I were discussing whether we're not even sure it's a 4-wheel drive vehicle. He's older. He had a pretty bad back injury a few years back. Clark could go down Birch and turn around, but he's not turning around, he's trying to back up. So I actually think that, Dave might not be able to do it. I don't think he's a nice guy. I had a good conversation with him about this a few days back. But the reason that we have him is because of the condition of the roads.
And I think too, to that point, is that it starts kind of when it's warm, right? Whatever issues are happening, or if things aren't being repaired, that's just gonna make the winter harder.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah,
So-
if things get let go, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, Dave, you have your hand up?
Yeah, Dave Warren knows those roads like the back of his hand. He's worked on those roads off and on for years. He's the one that creates a lot of those, the water runoff things, the water bars. And Clarkey is now sanding the dirt roads right now. Dennis himself is now sanding those roads. I hired him to do it. He said he would do it. Dave Bourne and him, they get along really good. And so that's why I thought Dennis would be good at this. He has a smaller truck than we do. The only one small truck we have is the 1-ton, and that one's busy doing other roads in town. Other smaller roads that are accepted, and also our private roads too, that the town does take care of. So that 1-ton right now it's at its wit's end right now, trying to keep up with what we got going on. So that's why I asked Dennis to help. And so Dennis has been doing a really good job. He waits till Dave's all done plowing the roads, and then I just let him know when they're done being plowed, because Dave texts me and lets me know when that's done. And then Dennis goes down and sands them. So that it's actually working out really well this winter, because we've been really busy with the main roads. and the accepted roads in town and some other private roads too.
It's a good thought too, because there are private non-lake roads that we serve. And you're a three-man crew, well, except for the added help,
They're
but
much smaller.
yeah. But I don't want to take up too much of our time because we still have to do the warming center, which I think will be also a good discussion. But I would propose that I will come up with a draft charge, for a committee that can start exploring this issue and ways that we can tweak this policy and get something that's more workable, I think, for everyone. And then, we can plan, I think, for another meeting to incorporate someone from the board is around and wants to speak to some of this, because anything we do, we're gonna need to involve them at some point.
The only thing that I just want to put out there, you know, and Eric said it once in a meeting for the Stormwater Committee, recognizing in terms of funding and so forth, and the needs at the lake, on the lake roads, is that, a solution that would solve all the problems would be the town taking over the roads. And they could take over the maintenance of the roads, and they also would be able to force with survey, taking back the property on the sides.
They would need more equipment and more personnel.
Yeah, it would require that, but you know, I mean, you know, I'd rather pay more in taxes than pay Lake Wyoto Association.
I'm gonna quote you on that.
I'm serious. So, I mean, I don't want to be throwing good money after bad.
There are different problems at different places around the lake, and I can only speak to the west side. And for sure, the major problem is a runoff from Locks Pond Road coming down State Pines. There's not adequate drainage to get it into the watershed. Bottom of my property, my well was 20 inches above ground when I did the house at Ridge 9. It's now 10 inches below ground, so there's been two full feet or more of runoff coming down Great Pines off the Locks Pond. So you see there in a storm, it's like a flood going all the way down. It kicks left around Birch Drive and continually pipes it out.
Because the road was tilted towards the lake rather than the other way, which would have put the water in the Sawmill River. And, you know, now that's just the way it is. Well, it wasn't a good design.
I gotta go.
Okay.
Thank you.
I hope. that
Thank
this
you.
will solve it next time.
Yeah, we'll work on it. But thank you both again for coming. I appreciate that.
Melissa, I just want to remind you, emergency management, we talked this summer about the fireworks, okay?
All right, warm center. So the past large snowstorm we had, what was it, 2 weeks ago now, I think?
Yeah.
About that. Had warnings that it was gonna be a large storm, so we put it out an email saying that we'll have a warming center set up at the town hall for 4 hours. The day of, kind of the beginning, and then the day after. I felt that was appropriate. I know, other people wanted to be open longer, but my reasoning is I didn't want people driving when the roads are bad. And, we're gonna have it open as needed. There was no power outages and nobody showed up. So if there were power outages, I would have been happy to keep it open longer on the Monday day part. But that wasn't the case. Nobody showed up. So I don't know if anybody has any comments on that.
You get one of these? I printed some out. Okay, good.
Yeah.
But thank you for having it open, even though it's not used.
Yeah,
Yes. Who staffed it?
Amanda,
Amanda, okay.
she was put right on the payroll like
Nice.
several days before, so it's like nice.
Good timing. Well, I have some thoughts, but I definitely would like to hear from, again, our COA. You're really getting your mileage at this meeting, so I'll open it up if you don't
Yeah.
mind, if I open it up to them.
Yes, yep.
Any takers? No?
So we had one of our senior people email us, and she was concerned of the hours that it was open. It wasn't open enough. And that explains it, that you didn't want people driving. Now, if it was just cold, weather, would it have been open longer? Without the
Well,
snow, or,
my issue is like, to me, if the power's not out, to me, it's not really needed. Because, I mean, everybody's got a home, unless somebody really calls out and says, people do call 911 and say, hey, my heat is out in the house and I need to be taken somewhere. Every now and then that does happen and we're happy to help out. But the thing is, it's like nobody really called in, nobody called anything in. And also, if
Right.
everybody has electricity, everybody should have their house warm unless their heaters fail. And they're gonna have to hire the furnace repair, get their furnace repaired. So,
I would like to second that. The primary use is if the power's out, people have a place to go. We get cold weather in New England every year and snow
Mhm.
every year. I think with this last storm, there was a high probability that power could go out because of
Right.
the amount of snow we were getting, that we preemptively set it in place so that if the power went out, we already had a staff member there, we could extend the hours, have other staff members. But for smaller scale storms that are, 5, 6 inches, or it's gonna be really cold, if the power's on, we don't really need to have a warming center. No one
Right.
goes to them, and that, we had it open 8 hours total and not one person showed up,
And,
you know?
and they'll dovetail on that too. In the past, for emergency management in the warming center or cooling center in the
Yes.
summer, right? It's only been, what triggered it to be open actually was the lights going out. It wasn't necessarily open
Mhm.
preemptively,
Yeah.
Necessarily. Sometime, a couple times maybe.
Did-
We did when we had a couple nor'easters coming through.
did we ever have a warming center before the 08 ice storm?
No,
So
so the 08 ice storm
I know that,
really highlighted, there was emergency management prior to that.
yeah,
Certainly there was things underway.
Mhm.
But most people were out of electricity at that point for 6, 7, sometimes 9 days, right? So that was needed.
Yeah.
In a much greater fashion. That was a storm that just, I think it surprised everybody because it wasn't supposed to hit
oh, totally.
our elevation. It was supposed to be higher than us.
Yeah.
So, but we learned a lot from that storm that we hadn't had in play. And the warming station, the cooling station, but being the
Yeah.
upper time, was one of those things. And I think the emergency management director would trigger it like you had. And, but it would be once the electricity went out or if there was, rolling electricity had started to go out in other communities.
Yeah.
And we're positioned 24/7 to
Right.
put something into effect if residents are severely affected. I mean, we're on call 24/7. So, if the need arises, it's not like nobody's gonna answer their phone or nobody's gonna be around. So I think that might hopefully help some of the concerns.
Mm.
What?
There was another question that Susan had was in the event that there was another 08 ice storm and we had like a 24/7 open warming center, is there anything prepared for that? I mean, where would people go? I mean, she was saying that Linda Ava Scott was saying that there was possibly cots or something.
I'll let you do that.
Yeah, there's some cots at the fire station. So
Okay,
far, we've never set up anything for overnight for people sleeping, but I mean, we'd have to make up as we go along too, as of right now. But if the power's out for an extended time, I mean, somebody will be here manning the town hall just so people can show up and get warm, charge their phones. And if there's one person in major need, we're gonna help them.
right.
And there's a, each storm is different, right? There's a plan that if the town hall is the first place, the school's the second place, if town hall has too many, depending on the length of time. The emergency management triggers the command center, which most of us sitting around the table are involved in some way. So there is a plan, although Lenny, by that question, maybe we don't widely have it known.
Yeah, I mean, the school's positioned to feed people, so that's a longer term
Right.
solution,
Right.
but we're talking major emergencies, not a week without
Right.
power. So maybe like to say.
Well,
what
that
you're
might be a major emergency.
It could depend,
Yeah, yeah.
it could depend, but, maybe having that plan more.
Yeah, maybe we need to do a little bit more management education.
Could definitely do more proactive.
Yeah, just so
Kind of
people know what we, what we're
Yeah.
already prepared for, I
Yeah.
guess.
One of the difficulties with weather, it's almost 100% certain that it's going to be different than what was forecasted. Like I said, the
100% guarantee.
yeah, the ice storm was kind of the ice storm was for the most part, pretty much completely
It's
random.
surprise. Yep.
Yes, that was a complete surprise. I think it's reasonable to have a warming center if the power is out in the town for 8 hours. I think that's totally reasonable. But if the power is on everywhere in town, I don't think it's really necessary to have much of a warming center in the town hall, just given that everybody's got power at their house. So,
And just to add on to that, so I just wanted to not throw a wrench, but there were practical considerations too. Like, the second we're talking about overnight, we have opened a huge liability. We have triggered, fire safety inspections, building code regulations. There's all these things, right? So ideally, we would just be focusing on warming and cooling because it's more pragmatic to implement. It's like I said, entirely different once you pull those pots out. There has to be showering stations, there has to be hand washing stations, you have to have food, you need to have, you need to have all your volunteers be quarried because you're dealing with sensitive populations. So that's a whole other beast, if you will. But for a warming center, I think we could be more proactive with messaging. I think, which will tie really nicely into our next conversation on messaging. But I think if we tell people, if you do lose power, please call 911 because then we know where you are. We can get you to where you need to be. But the things that we have to think about when we offer this are, ADA access. Once we open the warming center and somebody forgot to re-sand or resalt the doorway and somebody falls, there's a liability now that the town is facing because this person's gotten hurt under our duty of care. Making sure that we adhere to maximum occupancy limits on all the buildings and all the rooms. We can't do too many people. Do you want to have snacks for people? Well, if you cook something, then you've got to get the board and health involved now versus if you have prepackaged food and we don't have a lot of potable water here that's not in a cooler. These are just not reasons why we can't. But for me, if we're gonna open up for 8 hours and pay someone, because we have to pay the person to be here, we have to be thinking about all these things at the same time, and what is that threshold that triggers? Okay, now we're gonna open it.
In the past, it's always been a volunteer that sat here, but it's select board or other.
Yes. And then you have to train that volunteer, right? Because we want a volunteer that hopefully knows some first aid skills that is going to make sure that people are safe and people are, healthy and they're doing all the things that we need them to do here. So it's a lot. So it's a lot, but that is also to say that, in Amherst, it was really nice. The senior center didn't have to do it. It was all the PD, but they had a vulnerable resident list. This person needs access to refrigerated medication. This person has an oxygen tank. Some of those things so that if, something happened, we could address it. When I worked in Berniston at the start of the pandemic, we called 600 seniors and we said, do you have food in your fridge? Do you have your medication? Do you, what do you need? And so that we knew, okay, like this person's really vulnerable. So if something happens, we need to make sure that we're in constant contact with them. So those are some things, that we could do on a smaller scale to kind of put those like proactive measures in place so that we're not just responding to, oh no, this person has no power. Well, now we know, okay, they've got to have their oxygen hooked up or, whatever the case may be. And now if you don't mind the segue, we have the ability to purchase a brand new platform that I think will be far more beneficial to our operations. Than what we currently use. And so far, there's been no data breaches with the company, which is also really good. That's a great sign.
Haley, before you go into that, may I just make a brief follow-up comment on what you said? Just a reminder, if people have forgotten, that the Board of Health does have a part-time nurse now who might be able to help identify some of those vulnerable people. She doesn't work a lot of hours, but she's very dedicated, and I think she would be willing in those kinds of instances to help us out. And the other thing I just want to remind everyone, and I heard what you said about the kinds of regulations it triggers when we open up a warming center, but a lot of people, everybody's on a well, so nobody has water if there's an extended length of time that the electricity is out. So maybe, at least while we're planning, we should think about some source of water for those who have none. Many of us think ahead and, have water in our basements or whatever. I know I do, but I think that's something people are going to run out of. So that's all done.
And-
Thank you, that was good.
And Sarah Fisk, the nurse, likely already has a running list of people that she's been providing some nursing services to.
Those are good places to start. So, go back to the new program. So I met with Nicole. It's a really simple, intuitive platform. It's very user-friendly. You can, tell me if anything's redundant to Code Red, but like, so you can text your alert, it'll go to text message, it'll go to email. I could like record my voice, or I could have a robot make the recording. It can translate to different languages. So if I have a preferred language by either on my phone or via email, it will automatically translate the message. It integrates really nicely, I think, because you have a lot more distinction with what kind of notifications you want. Like if I want to get trash notifications, I can do that. I can just set it up. So I only want to know if my trash service.
So like the end
active.
user?
Yeah. Or, we could set it up so that we do our town announce that way, so that we do, emergency management notifications that way. So there's a lot of different options if you go to page 2.
Did you happen to ask the school? Because I know they use
They use this, yeah.
Oh. Good to know.
And yeah, it integrates really well with Canva. So like, for those of you who don't know, the graphics platform that we use, if you can get a message out like that, you can do presets. So if we think, well, we might need to notify people about a warming center, we can pre-generate the message and schedule it to send. You can make all kinds of templates so that we don't have to do things from scratch. It's really nice. And so there are some one-time costs, but once we pay those one-time costs, we're looking at a service that is about what we have budgeted now. And if we did decide to move our town announce platform to do it through through Bright Arrow, then we would save about $300 a year. That's what we pay for just that one.
The MailChimp.
Yeah,
Yeah.
to do
I'm
that.
curious, how did the MailChimp get everybody's email?
You had to sign up. So when you
Because
go
I-
onto the
I
website,
don't
and sign
ever
up for
remember,
Teams.
I never really remembered signing up, and I
Personally or?
Yeah. personally, and I've got them, so I was just kind of curious on that, because I know like the Code Red, they got the, some
Yeah, you had to
people,
sign up.
some people have entered in their
I
emails,
think
but a
when
lot
you
of
do
people
The
have.
town announce, if you ever, or I forget when town announce came to be, but when, that's what drives the MailChimp. So
Yeah.
if you ever signed up for announcements in any way,
Yeah, yeah, I'm just kind of curious.
or maybe
about
someone
that.
signed you up.
It's possible.
Yeah, that's probably what happened.
Yeah.
Probably me.
So yeah, that's how they.
Yeah. Yeah, I would like to look at the website, see how easy it is to run.
Okay.
I think eventually, I mean, the Code Red probably can get all the, the wrinkles ironed out of it, but it is, customer service, I'm not really happy with. They're not really set up to field lots of phone calls from lots of communities right now. Like all these companies are, once they build their site, they probably lay off 3/4 of their tech and just have a skeleton crew just to answer a couple questions here and there. All of these notification companies eventually do have issues with them. I know New Salem's having problems with their Blackboard Connect. And that was recommended by me from MEMA just not too long ago, so.
Well, you didn't, I mean, you can't foresee that.
Yeah, so nothing, no company's immune to.
Yeah.
Oh, no,
to
definitely not.
Breakdowns,
Oh.
so,
But if we have to kind of relaunch like we would with
yeah,
Code Red,
we kind of,
a good tie-in.
yeah,
Yeah, and if we can fold in other services that we already have too
yeah,
and save.
Yeah.
Certainly is not a bad option.
and, yeah,
Single platform
Is
makes
the
the
best.
most sense.
yeah.
Mhm. And you can have multiple users, you can have an account, you can have an account, you want an account, we'll get you an account. Um,
Yeah, I would like to look at it a little more before,
okay,
before putting
you
my
wanna
two
see what it
cents
looks
in.
like?
But,
See if I have a picture of it.
yeah,
Yeah, part of the reason, just as for a little history of why we did Code Red, is Code Red, I forget, we had reverse 911 before. I think
Yeah.
that's what it was called. I don't have a lot of knowledge in how that worked, but Code Red was brought on because they had good customer service and because they came about they were a telemarketer type company that developed Code Red, learning that they had this way of using their technology to be able to do this
yeah,
for communities because of their telemarketing / great customer service.
yeah,
But that was many years. I mean, that was when I first was on the select board. I
yeah,
think the first year or two. But like anything, it can run its course and.
yeah.
it's
Yeah, it'd just
better.
be nice to have something easy. The old Code Red website was easy. And
Hmm.
the new one is, to me, difficult, and then I think at some point it'll work fine, but as for right now, it's bumpy.
Well, I know Laura and from the school can both put out alerts through Bright Arrow, so they might be able to log in, and show us
Oh, yeah, they.
know,
what
how
they see.
how it works.
Yeah,
Obviously, the
From a
school's
user
different
perspective.
because they're regional, so they
yeah,
have
it's a
different
regional account.
thing, but
Yeah, but
to show us the platform.
right, yeah, I was gonna say the platform can't be so different.
Yeah,
I can just ask Nicole too, she can.
Yeah.
Send us some more stuff, but yeah, it's like, I don't know if these pictures are really gonna like explain a lot, but it's similar to that, so you compose your message here. If you're good at Excel, it's really easy to import like your contact lists. And you can do like contact freeze, right? So if I want my messages to go only to residents who are 65 and older, we can set it up that way. Or I need this message to go to, I don't know, pick something out of a hat. Like you can really refine your contact list so that you're targeting your messages really
like
specifically.
Wildwood region.
Yes, exactly. We could just do Lake Viola. So there's a lot of ways to tinker around with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm happy to look at it.
Can't hurt to look.
Yeah, definitely can hurt to look.
Do they have a branding, like you can put your own branding?
Yes, yeah. And like I said, so it will integrate with Canva. So like if Brennan and I do a newsletter, you can just copy and paste the HTML into the body of the email and you'll get all your pictures. You can send attachments, which we can't currently do. But yeah.
Yeah, we've had MailChimp for a long time.
Had a hard time sending attachments through the MailChimp.
I don't think
You can't.
I mean, I
can send the links, but
did pictures. I thought pictures were awesome. I sent a few of them out and then realized there was no body to it. It's like, that's great. Yeah, all right. That sounds fun. I'd like to look at it more. And
Yeah.
Do we have any other issues from anybody?
No, I think we should probably just make, like articulate what our criteria is for warming and cooling. And because she's not here, we should ask Mary Ann if she wants to be our site, especially for a cooling center. Makes a lot more sense. It is, and they have way more to do than at this town hall. So,
And they have a well.
and they do
They have
have,
a
well,
And bathrooms and parking.
parking is something else, but it probably would be a lot more fun to read a book than these old files. I would bet for most people.
We could use the help scan.
This is, we could try to get some paper out of it.
It's volunteerism. Okay, yeah, I think that's good. I remember there being something, Lenny, about the activation of EOC, activation of the town hall and then the school.
Yeah.
And it had also something to do with pets.
Mm.
People have brought their pets. There,
Oh,
you know, Mark had something that he had passed at one point. If I can find it, I will.
Yeah, the problem is I've never really seen much of a checklist for a
It
emergency
was more of a-
shelter.
It was more, it wasn't really a checklist, it was
Yeah.
more of a process.
Yeah,
Mhm.
Mark never showed that to me. I've asked,
I might have a copy. I'll-
yeah, if you find it, I've been asking Nate from MEMA to what's their boilerplate,
Makes sense.
emergency shelter. And they wanted to rewrite it for smaller towns, and I've been kind of bugging them for a while on it. I should do it again. Cause it would be nice to have something in line with what other towns do.
Yeah.
Rather than just, cause there's a lot of unforeseen things,
You don't
we
want to
do.
make it up in the
You
middle
know,
of
if
emergency either.
yeah, you do need the police there. You do need, we're having random,
Remember, I think.
yeah, we have random people sleeping next to another random person and,
Yes.
Smaller, smaller towns portion of that is key too. Cause I have fully staffed with 3 police officers. So if you need police there 24/7,
yeah,
I think,
It's
I
definitely
want to say
something.
that one that I had seen all those years ago, it said that with an emergency management person. So they may have changed to law enforcement now, but at that time it was
Yeah.
at least a select board member.
problem is when you talk to 10 experts, you get 10 different opinions too, so. But yeah, I should run a my Nate again.
Just
see
tell you
what-
whatever
see what-
number.
There is something back where about deputized people as municipal employees.
Oh, yes, you can do that for cooling and warming centers. So we could have people want to volunteer to be like our staff, we could do that.
The tort claims act. Your select board or mayor officially appoints these volunteers as special municipal employees for the duration of the storm. They're generally granted the same liability protection as paid town employees.
We have the. Not in like situation where to have special. So yes.
Yeah. Should we schedule a next meeting?
Sure. Since it's winter, so we have another one in a month.
Probably.
Just in case.
March 16th.
Yes.
Does that work for everybody? March 16th at 5 o'clock?
It's President's Day.
Yep, works
No.
for me.
Oh,
That's,
no, that's February.
Yeah.
there's no holidays in March except for St. Patty's Day.
What time was it? 5 o'clock? Same.
Can I do 5? I like 5. Did everybody else like 5?
Yes.
Yep. Works for me.
Yeah. All right. Right. I should adjourn the meeting. Okay, second, favor, aye.
Yes. Yes, I.
Yes.
Thank you, everybody.
Have a good night.
Good night.
You too. Thank you.